counting views as 1 second, right? I mean, Navneet, CEO of Hindus here, probably he can explain, but someone said, no, YouTube is counting a view if you see the full 30-second message. But someone else said, no, YouTube actually counts. Navneet, I don't know whether YouTube counts what? 5 seconds as a view? 6 seconds as a view? Right? And a client who's spending money on YouTube 2 days ago was telling me, YouTube counts 30 seconds as a view. I said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, it's not 30, Chandni. Please go back and check with your media agency. And don't even look at impressions. Impression means nothing. Right? So, cost per impression, cost per view, cost per click. Then there is something called a CAC in the entire digital ecosystem. What is CAC? It's called customer acquisition cost. Now everyone is now chasing the lower and lower customer acquisition cost. So it's one hell of a lot of clients throw a lot of money on digital and hope something will work. Right? So you spray and pray that something works. If you're a digital first company, then you know that people are coming to your website and buying it. Otherwise, it's a tough question to answer.
My last question is, with all this, what is going to be the longevity of brands? We have seen this 50 years, 100 years, and we talk about Coke and Pepsi and all that. But do you have to spend a hell of a lot of money to extend the life of these brands, or new ones are going to come because of the competition? Many people are starting everything.
Yeah, well, brands have been declared dead many times. The last time they were declared dead was when supermarkets launched their own brands, right? In UK, in the early 60s and early 70s, Sainsbury, Tesco, all of them launched their own, detergent, their own soap, their own thing, and privately, right? Private label branding. Private labels are supposed to kill branding, but that didn't happen. Brands continued, and in fact continued to grow. Then came the era of outsourcing, So there's a lady called, I've written about it in the book, I think, Naomi Klein, who wrote a book called No Logo, where she said, why will an educated consumer pay $40 for a Nike shoe when the consumer knows the shoe is made in China and the same shoe is available or a similar shoe is available in Walmart for $10? So she said, no logo. Logos are going to be dead. Right? It didn't happen. In fact, Economist wrote a cover story 5 years later saying pro logo. Because the more world becomes chaotic, consumers go to what is familiar to them. They go to trusted brands. Right? They go to brands which they can trust. I don't want to spend 5 hours or 5 minutes thinking of which detergent I want to buy. Easy choice, I go buy Surf Excel or whatever, it's easy. But competition is coming, so market share will get eroded. New players will come. That will happen. Like what's happening in the paint industry, right? It will happen. Every industry will happen. The other thing which is happening, which is very interesting, is in India, we've always seen, Sajan, there are seats here. So India, we've seen a very, very kind of bottom-heavy consumer pyramid. Most brands in India cater to that mass consumption market. Like let's say the Pond's vanishing cream kind of a product used to dominate the market. Right? And later, let's say Fair and Lovely. What is happening in the last 5 years or 10 years, not 5 years, maybe 7 years, is that multiple segments are emerging. Consumer is willing to pay more, right? And consumer has become, quote unquote, more intelligent, so to speak. So my students in SPJMR gave me this nice term. Today, consumer has become skintellectuals. So this consumer knows, I want ceramide. Which creams will give me 5% ceramide? I want retinol. Which cream will give me 7% retinol? And they go and pick up that brand and they're willing to pay 1,000 rupees for it. Right? And a brand called Minimalist. Minimalist, which is what? What is the top line of the Minimalist? How much is the top line of the brand? 250 crores, right? It's about 4 years old. It makes a profit of 20 crores, right? How much did Unilever pay for that brand? 3,000 crores, right? They paid a top line multiple of something like 15 for that brand. Why? Now, maybe they'll go wrong and they'll, have to write off something. But they feel this brand has caught on to something, which they've caught on to a trend of intellectual consumers who are willing to pay 1,000 rupees for a product and happy with it, and they'll continue to use it, and hopefully they'll grow. Right? So the pyramid is now no longer that bottom heavy. There are multiple segments emerging in every category. Every category, consumer is willing to pay more. They want a better product. They want a better experience. Look at the Automa. Look at the car. I mean, I spent 18 years working on the car category with Tata Motors. The largest selling car in India for many, many years was Alto. Right? Alto is no longer the top selling car. The last 4 years, Alto is not even in the top 5. Right? Other cars have come. I'm told Creta was the largest selling car brand last month. Tata has a small SUV called Punch. That was a top selling brand. So consumers wanting to upgrade. So consumer is changing, and that's the interesting thing which marketers are tapped onto.
Thank you so much. Excellent insights. Yeah.
Yeah. So Satya, your question now. You want to ask me a question?
So let's come back to the mixology part of marketing, right? These 4 components that you describe, Ambi, what are the different, how does it constitute, right, and composite in different situations? How should people think about when and where?
I asked for trouble.
More or less of this.
I asked for trouble. Okay. So I think the most important job in marketing is one. What is the most important job in marketing? Most important job in marketing is understanding consumers. Right? Peter Drucker said this. The only job an organization has to do is find and keep a customer. So the first chapter is on understanding consumers. And I think we don't spend enough time, effort in understanding consumers. I overemphasized the fact that as marketers, we should meet customers, we should do home visits, we should do, shop visits. I've overemphasized this, and I know Dorab was very unhappy because Dorab was a leading market research professional. We also have Ashok sitting somewhere. If you're in marketing, you should spend time in the market, meeting customers, right? So good companies even prescribe that 5 days a month, you have to go and spend time in the market. Visit homes, visit shops, visit customers, talk to customers. That's the number one job. Everything else follows. I mean, once you meet customers, and then of course you need to do qualitative research, quantitative research, interpret research, get insights. But therefore, the most important job is understand consumers, find out what they are missing, and then tailor your product. So we go to then branding, to tailor your brand to satisfy that, and then figure out how to negotiate, how to sell, and then figure out how to communicate. So in a sense, the book is kind of a logical flow, the book, and that's the whole idea. Yeah. Okay. So we have 15 minutes left. We can throw open to. You have a question for me? Okay, good. Thank you.
So when we spoke about this, you said you've kind of distilled years of your experience into these 4 skills. Was there a 5th that made the cut, or was it very close to making the cut, or how did you arrive at these 4?
It's a tough question to answer. I think in fact, when Gautam's colleague said I should, write 2 more chapters, I started searching. What are the key skills? And I've looked at it as core skills and soft skills. Certain skills you need in any sector. right? Like team building, communication, ability to motivation. These are skills you need whether you're a finance or whether you're a small businessman, whatever, right? So you need that. But then in marketing, I found these four kind of resonated better. Of course, there are 2 or 3 more core skills which I could have written about. One, of course, is go-to-market. The go-to-market strategy is important. I've not, that's a potential chapter I looked at. The other is digital marketing. But I'm not totally comfortable with the topic of digital marketing. I don't know enough. So that's why I didn't attempt to write it, which is why I stuck to this, what I knew. So in a sense, this book is underemphasizing digital marketing because I don't know enough. But the fundamentals are all there, and that's how I shortlisted these 4. And I wrote them. In the last chapter, I given a list of other skills you need, both core skills and soft skills, which you need to be successful in business. And that's there for you to take a look at. So that's my answer to your question. Thank you. Oh, some question has come on the screen. My God. So, Ram Prakash is asking, I think we've discussed this, right? I mean, today a lot of youngsters believe they can answer all marketing problems by looking at their computer or their smartphone. I'm saying that's a fallacy. You have to go out there, rubber has to hit the road, you've got to talk to consumers and figure out, right? Because behavior you can get by finding out on digital who's saying that, but you don't get to know why, right? The why will happen only when you go and talk to consumers, observe them, and then interpret what they're doing. So this is a good example where a brand communication played a pivotal role in brand turnaround or crisis recovery. Okay, so where's Karthik? So I did an interview just yesterday where the same question was asked. Yeah, same question was asked. So I'll repeat the answer I gave you. So this is a story which I've written about in I think, one of my books, definitely. We were fortunate to work on the Tata Motors launch of their passenger vehicle, Tata Indica. And as the campaign went well and they got 117,000 fully paid bookings. The car launch was delayed. Finally, the car came out, started selling, and the car had issues, right? And the sale had started declining and had hit something like 2,000 cars per month. That's when Mr. Tata, whose entire reputation he had staked it on the launch of India's first passenger car, told his team, go meet customers, find out what is the problem and solve it. So they made a team consisting of engineering, sales, marketing, had 30 customer meets across the country, met probably 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 customers, found out what the problem was. One was the suspension was a problem, so tires were wearing out. The other was where the belt was making a lot of noise because the flywheel was a little small. So they had to fix it. They fixed it. They relaunched. They were ready. I mean, the new car started rolling out, but sale was not going up. Sale was stuck at 2,000, right? So we started, agency and the client started sitting and talking. So we said, look, Tata has a huge amount of trust in the market. So you can get people back, but you have to send them a signal that this is a new car. So Rajiv Dubey and Krishnan said, it's not a new car, it's an old car. He said, no, you have to send a signal that it's somewhat different. So they said, what do you mean? So he said, we should give it something. So we called it, I said, we'll call it Indica V2. They said, look, Ambi, this is a car. This V2 and all is okay for, surf and rin and all that. this V2 and all you can't do with car. We said, no. We'll do it with car. Do we have any other solution? No. So then let's leave it to us. We will do the campaign. We did the campaign. We did print advertising. We did TV advertising. We called it the Indica V2. And car sales, which was 2,000, 2,200, 12 months later hit 5,500. Car was the same. Price was the same. What was different was the communication. So it turned the fortunes of the company, of the brand, gave the company confidence to launch the sedan, which is Indigo, which they launched later. And when Mr. Tata was given the Lifetime Achievement Award by the auto industry in Detroit, and that talk is available on YouTube. You can watch that talk, the 10-minute talk by Mr. Tata, where he says that no one gave him confidence that he will succeed with the car industry. Right? And people, even his friends, started distancing themselves from him. And he calls this is called distancing yourself from failure. Right? And he says, but he said, the team managed to turn it around and, we became a success. We launched, Indigo. Then, of course, he went and acquired, Jaguar Land Rover. Right? So that, I think, was an example from my life of how brand communication managed to turn the fortunes of a brand which had been given up as dead. Right? So we should ask, inge kai poirukpa Navneet kakkuறாரு. You don't send the mic. Hey, Navneet, the CEO. No, give him the mic, yeah. Ram Kumar wants to answer a question.
Not that, nobody's asking a question.
No, I think Ram Kumar only. Ram Kumar has to answer this.
You answer the question.
You can answer the question. Yeah.
Ram, you want to answer the question? Is it Ram Kumar asking the question or is the question addressed to Ram Kumar?
Having led financial turnarounds, how critical is brand building in traditionally commoditized industries like manufacturing or auto components? I think the branding in auto components is there for proprietary items like, Myco, Bosch, all these have brands. But if it is run-of-the-mill products, like many of the products are just turning and pressing and, some grinding and all that, then it's only the name of the company which is, if they ask you, which company is supplying this, so I can tell you with some pride because I worked with Murugappa Group and Tube Investments. We used to supply precision steel tubes for two-wheelers and four-wheelers and all that. We were always thought of as a little higher price, but they said if it is coming from this factory and this company, this product has to be good. We will give it a try. And any new products, we used to get more and more orders. But branding as such, not in the typical sense of how we do it in consumer products, B2C is possible. But it has been possible in some of the products, only you go to only Bosch and nobody else will buy anything else. And many other proprietary kind of items. Maybe in batteries, there is some branding which is possible. Even then, most of them are equated over a period of time, is what I have to say. You have anything to add?
No, I think what you said is right. In B2B, it is organization branding which matters, right? So, like Tube Investments is a brand. So Navneet?
My question, Ambi, is how have you applied these 4 essential ingredients in imagining this book, crafting it and marketing it?
Sorry, I didn't hear it, fortunately.
So there are 4 ingredients part of marketing mixology. How have you applied each of these ingredients?
How to?
How have you applied these in imagining, crafting and marketing this book?
While writing the book, I'm applying it. This is part of it, boss.
Each of them. Each of them.
First of all, this book is very clear. I'm targeting it at a 25 to 30-year-old young marketing executive or someone who's in sales want to get into marketing. So that is my target consumer. My target consumer, unfortunately for us, I mean, I'm on the board of Hindu, he's the CEO, doesn't read enough newspapers. So what did I do? Therefore, I am going a little bit turbo on social media. Right? In fact, I don't know how many of you have seen this guy called Sanjay Arora, who does these videos every day. I contacted a few of them, and Sanjay was kind enough to talk to me, and I discovered Sanjay's brother called Prince Arora. His name is Prince Arora, worked with us in Ulka, and he was very nice. He said, Ambi, I'll do a video. I've not done too many book videos, but I will not be fully positive. So because he only criticizes everything, right? So I said, yeah, go ahead, criticize. Yeah, doesn't matter. One American boss I had who said, any publicity is good publicity. So I've reached out to people like that, right? And I've been kind enough, they've said nice things, and seems to be working, right? So who is the target consumer? What is the payoff I'm going to give him? So I've even written the book. If this book, read it and go, you'll be able to answer most questions which HR will ask you about marketing. So it's an easy guide, right? So you want to get into marketing, it's a good thing. You're in IT, you want to understand what is marketing. In fact, in Bangalore, I was signing some copies at the Bangalore airport. Before signing, I saw the book was displayed and someone picked it up. A young chap picked it up. He looked at the book. Then he went, looked at some other book, I kept quiet. I was just watching. Then he went and paid for this book. So then after he paid for the book, I went to him and said, thank you for buying the book. So I said, I'm the author. He said, oh wow, you're the author. Can you autograph? I autographed it for him. And then I asked him, boss, are you in marketing? Why did you buy this book? Any idea which field he was in? The hint is Bangalore, right? You throw a stone, it's IT. So he was an IT guy. So I said, you're an IT guy, why did you buy this book? He said, no, I've been always wanting to know, what is this marketing? So this book was interesting, cover was interesting, it didn't look too heavy, so I picked it up. Right? So I've also mentioned, I've co-written a textbook on strategic brand management. That's 450 pages, right? I know 25,000 or 20,000 copies of the book is given to B schools every year. 40,000 copies of Kotler is given to B school students. I don't think even 40 copies are opened and read. Because it's a TLDR. What is TLDR? Too long, don't read. Right? The too long, don't read generation don't want to even pick up that book. Right? So this book is meant for them. It's meant for the TLDR generation. So don't worry. It's easy. One flight from Bombay or Chennai to Bombay and back, you'll finish the book. And you'll be ready to answer some question. Right? So that's the clear thing. So thank you for asking the question. And letting me plug the book once again. Satya's got a question. Oh my God.
Okay, so in your work with Apollo Pro Health, how did consumer understanding drive preventive care, innovation, and personalization? Lots of big words there, but let me break it up. Going back to your answer, right, around the 4 dimensions that are covered in the book, I do agree that understanding and knowing the consumer is primary and almost disproportionately demands, sort of one's attention. Going back to sort of even at the Hindu group, right? One of the fun things we did was set up a reader intelligence unit where we said, listen, we have access to so many people. How do we help brands from across the country understand the South Indian consumer? Coming back to sort of preventive care, one of the things I insisted our teams do, and myself included, is firstly is what you refer to, Ambi, in the book around observational studies, right? So the first 4 months in the job, I actually took one of the doctor's offices and sat in the midst of the patient flow, which then allows you to understand and observe where they go, what they do, how often, how long someone is here, and so forth. And therefore, everyone who came and joined my team subsequently had to actually pick a center where they didn't know anybody and almost go mystery shop and come back with insights on what they would do differently. In terms of how that therefore drove innovation and personalization, we realized very quickly that there were a few things that were missing when we said the word, right, preventive health. Most people firstly don't understand what that means, right? And it's a mouthful. But if I say health checkup, everyone gets it. And so we actually simply went with, listen, let's not worry about preventive health. That's the name of the department. That's how we'd like to call ourselves. That's communication internally. But that's not necessarily how and what we say to the consumers. We go with where they are, which is health checkup. The second thing we realized is, well, you go do a health checkup. Everyone gets a long, thick report, multiple tests, green, red, yellow. And then what? And so one of the things we actually then came to do is put some, for the skintellectual, people who essentially want science behind a number of these things, started to actually use technology to synthesize. Very quickly, first page will say, these parameters, you're okay on these, not on these. The other thing we realized is the doctor, and you want the doctor, right? They only have about 1.5 minutes for you, right? And in that 1.5 minutes, how do you actually focus their attention? But more importantly, you walk out of there, and that's when actually all the 15 questions come to your mind. So we set up a follow-up program as part of the entire program, where you actually get a call within a week from health coaches that have your results and therefore are able to engage with you, answer your questions, tell you actually what to do to lose that weight or improve your cholesterol levels and so forth. So a number of these things were baked into what I'm going to call a much more holistic product. We also then realized that there were people who didn't want to spend much. And then we had people who wanted to spend a lot. In fact, they were actually taking flights to the UK and to the US to get their health checkups done. So why not do it down the street on Greens Road, right? And so we ended up curating products by understanding, speaking to the different segments of consumers. Those that didn't want to pay that much, we actually modularized the product. Said, you come in, just start with something. In your liver function test, you don't need all 8 in the first go. You only need 3. Let's start with that. Right? How do you actually modularize? Other end of the spectrum, we actually curated something that was everything and anything that you wanted. So a lot of that innovation, right, came out of truly understanding and going to the consumers, having those detailed discussions, observational studies, also watching how they read their reports. So we'd give them a tab or give them their file and just watch what they did. Where did they stop? Where did they look confused? Where did they start? Where did they finish? And I think a lot of that is what actually drove some of the product innovation that we did.
Great. So thanks, Satya. This question is, I think, to me, in your experience, you've seen consumer understanding evolve. Okay, so I think today you get a lot of data about consumers from various platforms. You get, Google review tells you what the consumer thinks of you. Amazon review tells you what the consumer thinks of you. And you also know what they think of your competition. So you can actually pull and you can actually scrape the net, pull out all these reviews, put it onto a AI tool to analyze it and give you a word cloud. This used to take days a few years ago. You had to physically scrape out all the comments, and then someone has to physically read it and sort it. Today, it's all done in a few minutes. So if you're in any marketing, big business, small business, you have to track your reviews. And my sister is there, she's a dermatologist. She has Google reviews, right, on If you go to Google Maps, you see the reviews there. And you have to read the reviews, analyze the reviews, and reply to them. That's free. That's free research for you. Right? Of course, most people will write negative stuff. We ought to be ready for that. Right? Reviews will be disproportionately negative. So maybe 5:1. For every one positive, there'll be probably 4 negative. But you got to be ready for that. But if you are in any marketing, if you're not spending time analyzing the free data you get, you're making a mistake. The big companies have gone to the other extreme. They've created what are called digital listening posts, where there are 20 people sitting in, with those huge NASA type screens where they're monitoring what are the comments being said, and they're interpreting them, they're answering them, right? You don't need to do that. Whatever business you're running, the simple thing you should do is to just track what reviews people are writing about your business on social media platforms and take some corrective action. Okay, so. Time irka? I think one hand has gone up here. Thank you, sir. Thank you, boss.
In the world of marketing, when today's scenario where a lot of chaos is there, so much of digital marketing and companies are pumping in so much of money for marketing and advertising, is it really applicable to all types of industry? For example, why I want to know in healthcare industry. We have tried a lot of social media marketing and we have a doctor there. But my customer, like my doctor, he doesn't even bother what's happening in Instagram or the other stuff happening. So in these type of specific segment wise, what would be the wise decision for marketing consultants?
So there is no one size fits all, right? For pharma marketing, I do some consulting with pharma companies. There are, like LinkedIn, there are some specific social media platforms for doctors, right? And some clients, some brands have figured out those work good. The other thing which has happened in the after COVID especially, is that pharma companies have figured out webinars can work. And doctors are willing to attend webinars as long as the speaker is very good. So because it is online, you can get a speaker from London or from New York or from Johns Hopkins or Mayo Clinic. You can get them to talk. And I know that, companies like, Sun Pharma or, they run these webinars every month and thousands of doctors attend the webinars. So it depends on what the product is, what the category is, how do you tailor it. Obviously for a pharma brand, you can't advertise on YouTube or Meta, but you can create public service communication, right? If you remember, which is the hottest pharma product entering India? Ozempic and Wegovy, right? So what has Novo Nordisk done in the last 2 months? You might have seen the ads. It came in, I think even in Hindu, it came in many newspapers. They're now trying to tell consumers obesity is a disease. Right? And you can take a medicine for it. So when you communicate the fact obesity is a disease, you externalized a problem. Till now, what did you tell someone who's overweight? You're eating too much. You're not exercising enough. Right? You're leading a sedentary lifestyle. No, Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly is told, don't worry. You're overweight, you're obese, that's a disease. And we can cure it for you. How? You take an injection every week, costing you 5,000 rupees. And we'll fix you. Right? So, they've not sold a drug. They've changed consumers' perception towards a problem. I wrote an article in, I think, Business Standard. Some years ago, another company changed consumers' perception about another problem. Till then, that problem was seen as terminal. But they changed it into a small problem. What am I talking about? ED. What is ED? Erectile dysfunction. Right? What was it called before Pfizer told us it is ED? It was called impotence. Impotence is something you can't fix. Right? It's for life. But Pfizer came and said it is not impotence. It's ED. And I'll give you a little blue pill. You're good to go. Right? So pharma industry is figuring out, all these things, tricks which you know. You've been in pharma long enough, so. Yeah, who's wanting to ask? Okay, Divya saying what mistake? The mistake brands make are twofold. One is you're not investing enough in consumer research, right? I'm saying if you're spending 15% of your top line on advertising, you should be spending at least 1% on consumer research, right? And that will help you utilize that 10% you're spending on advertising and get you better returns. So I don't think companies are spending enough time going and meeting consumers, analyzing consumers, and spending money on classical research. Classical research still works. Of course, digital throws up a lot of data. A lot of the data is useless, but that is the data. You have to sit and actually analyze it and interpret it into what we call insights. So from data comes knowledge, knowledge comes insight. So I don't think companies are doing enough of that. So, boss, we are done. Thank you. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you to the wonderful, wonderful panel we have here.